in.
I'll count down to myself then.
Okay.
All right, Andrew. 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Never Sold Out Podcast. As always, I am Andrew. Next to me is Nick, and below me is Eric. And not just because Zoom decided to put him below me, but Eric is below me in my heart because it's me, then Eric. And Nick's next to me.
I think my eyes also come up to your heart too, so I'm definitely below
That's
you
actually
in that.
That's actually probably true.
Yeah. Then again, I haven't stood next to you in 2 years, I think, so.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
He hasn't gotten any taller, so.
There you go.
He's still short with huge feet.
Yes.
Yeah, the only thing that's grown on me recently is my stomach, but
Same.
here we
It's
are.
happening to all of us.
Yeah, same.
Yeah,
Embrace
it's weird.
the dad bod non-dads.
I am happy to say that I'm still in the 170s, so I got that going for me. So
I don't want to discuss my weight.
I don't even know my weight.
We'll just say that at least I'm working out and trying to mitigate it. So so last week we had a fantastic discussion about paranormal, and we veered off into Space Force, and then started talking about aliens, and that's where we're coming in hot this week is alien talk.
Yes.
We all know that from last week that I've had some alien experiences, UFO experiences. And I also believe in dearly that aliens have been to the planet before. I don't think they've been here anytime in the past 50 years, but who knows? I don't know that. But what about you guys? So let's start with Eric.
Okay.
So what do you believe? Do you think aliens had any sort of role in how we are today as a civilization?
Now, are you talking? How far back in the past are you talking exactly?
I'm saying, have they influenced human beings? Is the question? Do you feel that way?
I think so in some ways. I mean, there's not 100% evidence of it, but there's theories about take for example the ancient astronaut theory. Most people would see that as ancient aliens, which is where most of us get the idea of that from. But there's a lot of possible evidence that we've been visited in the past, and possible technologies from aliens could have helped us create some of our structures. The pyramids are the most famous ones when it comes to this theory. There's also the pyramids over in the Egyptian periods, I should specify, because there's also the periods over in South America. There's one, maybe two that I can remember offhand over in Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, and all that. So I definitely think that with ancient building and technology in that sense. As for modern times, that is a more controversial subject, and I base a lot of that off the Bob Lazar story. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Bob Lazar at all.
Didn't they make a movie about it?
Yeah, they just had a documentary come out on Netflix last year about him, but I've actually known about this guy for well over 10 years now. He apparently worked, or not apparently, but he actually worked at Area 51. So he actually discusses the alien technologies that he ended up having to work on. It didn't see aliens or anything like that, but talked about different propulsion systems and a bunch of other things that are beyond the knowledge that I can ever achieve to get. But yes, I do believe that aliens have, kind of helped us out a little bit in some ways.
Nick, what about you? How do you feel about the whole discussion?
Yeah, I believe that they have for sure. I like Eric brought up the pyramids. And yeah, I mean, just the way they're because I think some of the mythology behind it is they even done the facial work, right, of some of the statues there.
Yes.
So it's to me it's given to technology they had back in the day. To me, it doesn't make sense in my head how that would occur. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I think that there's like some like artwork back in the day kind of proves that maybe something was a bit off, you know.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, it's not something I heavily investigate into. I'll be honest with you guys. But yeah, I definitely think that aliens had played a role in the start of civilization. Now, whether that means we have like got like the pyramids and some of the the landmarks that we have in this world, or even as far as like technology goes, like maybe they do have a hand in some of the technology. I mean, like like one of the things that one of the aircrafts that always seemed like kind of alien to me is like the stealth fighter. Like
Yeah.
maybe that was something that was brought out of alien technology. I mean, I personally think it's kind of ignorant to think that we would be the only people in this huge galaxy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like that's a whole separate thing, because like obviously there's the high possibility that there are other planets within our own galaxy and other galaxies that have life on them. It's just it seems like the only thing that people ever have like a controversial opinion about is whether or not they've actually interacted with human beings and made their way to Earth. Because I feel like even a lot of people who are religious admit that there is alien life somewhere, but they don't feel that there was an influence. And I believe that a lot of our religions and the way that they talk about gods and everything like that coming from the skies, I think a lot of that was interpreted from aliens coming down from the heavens and descending upon this race of human beings that had no idea that this was even possible. So to them, it just felt like these are gods. Like there's no other possible explanation besides gods.
Well, it's
Right.
funny. It's funny you bring it up because like that's one of the things that kind of when I think of religion, how it's brought up, I always think to myself because I know it sounds silly, but there's a scene in the J.J. Abrams Star Trek Into Darkness, the second Star Trek movie, and these indigenous people, they're alien. They don't even have technology. They haven't invented the wheel yet. Sees the Enterprise just come from the water. So then you see them draw the Enterprise, and it's almost like it's like a deity, a god. You know what I mean? You see that they're going to end up worshiping that because it's something so far out of the normal. Like I mean, just put it to, like if I were to go back in time to like the 1800s and I landed on a Cessna in front of people, they would think I'm a god because I came from the heavens, and I feel like that is such a thing that I can see being the real truth behind God would be, aliens.
Eric, you seemed like you had something to say.
No. I was looking something up while taking in what Nick was saying.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, so one thing that always strikes out is drawings. So all the ancient civilizations have some sort of drawing or hieroglyphics or any way that they were able to portray things. And a lot of the times these are things that they have actually seen. So like their portrayal of people, their portrayal of animals. And then all of a sudden you're just going to say that they're going to have random depictions of like beings coming from the skies and they didn't see any of this. Like I wouldn't see why anyone could argue something like that where they're very literal with their drawings and very literal with what they're showing. Like they're not usually the ones that are just going to come up with this stuff out of nowhere.
Yes. Not just that, but like say they draw like the ancient Aztecs and Mayans, they would always talk about like flying serpents. Well, think about it. It's shaped like a tube, like how we today would imagine a rocket being shaped. They didn't have a word for rocket. They didn't have a word for metal. They didn't have a word for anything like that. So they're just going to take what they know around them. That's why they sit like, for like Egypt, for example, they have these little bird-looking gliders. And they actually have a rudder on the back of it where the tail would be. So it's basically a combination of a bird and a plane, if you look at it. They're thousands of years old, and they were even tested and properly tested and proven to be very aerodynamic to glide.
Mhm.
So, I mean, there's all different examples of all this stuff around the world if we're talking about ancient cultures.
Mhm.
That's something a lot of people don't take into consideration. They're like, oh, well, they're talking about like these flying things, flying turtles or whatever. It's just mythical. Well, if you didn't see a car 800 years ago, what would you call it? You call it, I don't know, a fast
wagon.
horse, a wagon, or a horseless wagon. There you go.
Right.
I mean, that's true, and that's the thing. That's why I always say it's like it kind of comes down to ignorance too with people, like, you know. And I'm not knocking people, but like I know, like in like some like religious outlets, like yeah, I do think some have acceptance that yeah, maybe there is aliens, but some people it's like blasphemous. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like no, like we are the one true being. It's like, you know, the idea of God maybe not being something other than maybe some random guy who just came to our planet. He was an alien, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you know, if he made a difference, it doesn't disprove anything, right? Like, if he made a
Right.
difference, then yeah, you can still follow that guy just because he's not technically listening to you right now, and maybe there is no heaven doesn't mean he couldn't be a god in your eyes. You know what I mean? That's the difference.
Yeah.
But I am with Andrew. I do think that back in those times, it was very literal. What they saw is what they interpreted. They didn't just make up something for the sake of making it up. I don't think that that's the type of world that existed. I think it was like they were pretty bold with how they spoke. You know, like
Not just that, but they were also more enlightened than like we are as a civilization today. Because we're distracted by all this different stuff, whether it's the internet or having to pay our bills or trying to get enough sleep before we have to go to work in the morning and take care of the kids, like that kind of stuff. Back then, all they had to worry about was survival against animals and each other, getting enough to eat. And that's really it. I mean, there's probably a couple other things, obviously, but like I feel like they were more in tune with that kind of stuff, you know. And that kind of helped with the honesty of calling what they see, that kind of thing.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I mean, there's got to be a reason why they choose certain lineage for their kings and and queens and any type of royalty in their eyes. Because if you look at like ancient Egypt and you look at like the ancient Mayan civilizations, a lot of the rulers are depicted as gods, and this could be something as simple as one of those beings came down and made it with a human being, and now there's this half alien, half human that is the head of this civilization. They look different in all their depictions. They always look different. They always have like an oddly shaped head.
Yep.
They always have some sort of like glowing being around them, and then they build like capsules for them, and then what do they do from there?
Well, that's part of the theory with the Anunnaki in ancient Mesopotamia, that they came from whatever the planet is past the Milky Way, came down, and they basically took their genes and split them with the genes of the chimps or whatever we were back then.
Right.
And that's how that's argued to be possibly to be the missing link right there. How true that is, I don't know.
Yeah. And I think that's something that like we would never be able to find out.
No.
Like it as has been proven by science, there is no way to travel backwards in time.
No.
Like as cool
Not
as
that
it looks
we
in
know of
science.
yet.
Yeah, as cool as it looks in science fiction movies, there's no possible way that we can conceive to travel back in time to prove these things.
Yeah.
And that kind of brings me to my next point. Do you guys know of any, like, I would say within the past 200 years of examples of aliens that have made contact? You could talk
Like
about
Roswell?
Yeah, you could talk about Roswell, anything like that.
I think Roswell is probably the most famous to me.
Yeah.
You know, and I also believe that I really do believe Area 51 is alien. I do. I believe that something has made contact in Area 51, and I feel like that was ground zero of whatever occurred. Why is that specific place so interesting and so intriguing that they set up right there? Why the secrecy?
So,
Well, if you have questions about, go ahead, Andrew. I'm sorry.
no, it's all you, Eric.
No, I was gonna say, like, with the whole Area 51 thing, like, that's just a big question in itself right there. But I could point you to the Bob Lazar story for just to answer some of the questions. I'm not saying his story is 100%, but I'm given no reason to disbelieve it. To be honest with you, the guy seems genuine. He seems terrified, but he also knows what he's talking about. It seems, or I don't understand that stuff, so I got to take it with a grain of salt. But for the Area 51 stuff, I would look at that story and see how you feel about that.
So,
what's your opinion on Area 51, Andrew?
So I kind of out of pieces that I've gotten from like watching Ancient Aliens and watching historic shows and on History channels growing up, like I kind of pieced together my own theory as to why that became such a hotbed. So we all know, and I had to put this in context for Twitch because terms of service won't allow me to talk about a certain group from this time period. But in Germany in the 1930s and 40s, there was a group of people, and so inexplicably, I can't even speak. So that group came across the technology to do a lot of different things. So they were the first ones to do like the rockets that could travel large distances. They were the first ones to start working on space travel.
The head of NASA.
Right.
Where did he come from? He was a part of the group with Germany.
Right. So my theory, and based off of things that I've heard, is that group was working on a time traveling device.
The Bell, as it's also called.
Exactly.
So, are you telling me that Captain America, the first Avenger, has historical accuracy?
Possibly.
Yes. Oh, okay.
Parts of it has historical accuracy. Yes. So that group was working on the Bell, which was supposed to be a time traveling device. They were also working on devices that could attach to the front of airplanes to travel through time.
Yes.
So
this is an episode of Ancient Aliens?
No, this is just general history.
Well, yeah. So I first saw this on a episode of Ancient Aliens.
Because I'm genuinely intrigued by this. I want to watch it now.
So they were working on these devices. Those people, a number of that group disappeared off the face of the planet, right? So they were never found. The device was never found, but all the schematics and drawings and everything were there for it.
Yeah.
So what I'm thinking is that this device is what came down in Roswell, New Mexico. It traveled through space and time, landed in Roswell, New Mexico. The U.S. government retrieved it and the people on board and used those people who had alien technology that they were developing to develop further technologies such as stealth fighting, nuclear bombs, everything. That's my own theory.
On that theory. I'm going to sleep on that because I like that theory a lot. I just need time to like really comprehend that.
Yeah.
Do you think time travel? Like, do you think they cracked it?
Yes. I think they cracked it, and they cracked it over 70 years ago.
And when you're talking about time travel, like I'm talking about like Back to the Future time travel.
Yeah, well, not backwards time travel. They haven't done backwards.
Forward to the future. So they came forward in time.
Just think about it. When they were working on the Bell, it was anywhere between 1942 to 1945. Roswell was, I forget the day and the month. I think it was like September, October, or something like that, of 1947.
Right.
So that would have been at a minimum 2 years of travel in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So you think that time travel exists today?
I think time travel exists today, and it is the biggest government secret that no one is talking about.
What do you think has, besides the Bell and Roswell, what do you think has occurred with time travel? What are some of your theories? 'Cause I'm like genuinely interested. I've never heard any of this stuff. Like I knew that certain groups did weird stuff, like like obviously like because of like I know it sounds so stupid, but because of Captain America and like Overlord, like I know it had to have some type of like they had to have some type of thing with it, but what do you think has occurred time travel wise in this world? It's like I'm like generally I didn't even know any of this shit existed.
I haven't given it much thought after that.
I've heard stories, but I don't know how accurate they even not accurate they could be, as in like if time travel's possible. Just more of like, did this person make it up?
So the only thing that I can really think off the top of my head is number of key figures from that party have disappeared. They still don't even know if the main guy from that party, I won't say his name again because Twitch, they don't even know if they really have any evidence that he had deceased.
Well, there is evidence that a lot of them escaped to Argentina.
Can you text me the main guy's name?
You know the main guy, the guy with the mustache.
Okay, all right. That's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
So, oh my god, I gotta look into this stuff. My mind's like really blowing right now.
Twitch
there's
doesn't
theories that they escaped to Argentina after.
Wait, there's no evidence of his death.
No,
it's not his skull that they recovered. They did a DNA test after the Russians brought it back. It's not his. It's actually, if I got this right, I think it's just a random Russian soldier. They needed a body. That's really what they needed.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. This is a whole like 5 episodes in itself if we wanted to go down this rabbit hole. But for Twitch's sake, we probably won't.
Oh my god. So.
Yeah. So.
Oh my god.
I love how mind-blowing.
So the real question then becomes where did he go? 1, and 2, what other figures in history were we told that died that may not have died? They might have just time traveled and they don't know what time period they came out of. And if they came in a certain period, you would think that the government would have figured out how to detect where they would be coming in and retrieve this, like whoever traveled, before anyone figured out that they time traveled.
So was he? Do you think he was one of the people that found in Roswell?
I don't think that it was him that they found.
Probably his other higher ups, or not even his higher ups. Probably his top scientists.
It was the scientists that disappeared working on that technology that they found and have held captive there to develop other technologies that we currently use today.
Because think about it, from Roswell until now, think of the technological leap we took. Like, it took us hundreds of years to get to the car, for example. Just a simple, like, Ford Model T of, 19-teens, 1920s. Once Roswell hits, our technological boom is insane. Like, out of nowhere, we have, the internet. We got, like, this is magic. This here is magic. I mean, like, we have all this technology. Like, the jump from 47 to now has been insane. So, like, that's one of the main factors that has me believing not just the theory that you came up with, Andrew, but also any theory that's come out of Roswell. Just the technological boom since then. And I'm talking especially with, like, military. Like, Nick brought up that stealth bomber earlier in the episode. Like,
that was developed in Area 51. Yeah,
and that's been proven that it was developed there, especially since that's an Air Force field. But like, all that aero technology came from that group of people we were just talking about. So that actually makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I just have my own theories, and sometimes they sort of make sense.
I mean,
Like I
you
said,
got
I'm
me
gonna
convinced.
I'm gonna sleep on this. I need to think
I
hard.
believe you. My mind's fucking blown. I believe you. I don't even know. Like
Well,
Nick,
what the fuck?
I guarantee me and Andrew can send you a ton of articles that would just change your perspective on all this.
I didn't even know they didn't find his body.
yeah.
Really? You didn't? Oh yeah, obviously you just.
No,
like,
I just figured like Quentin Tarantino got it right in Inglourious Basterds. You know what I mean? What the fuck?
No. No. Once again, it was. I'm not going there.
Yeah. So like, and this is just again piggybacking off of the idea that aliens made contact with this group because they did. There's no like.
So out of all the groups that they could have decided to make contact with, they chose them.
Yep. So, and
chose
here's
their judgment.
well, here's why. So you come down from another planet. You see one group that seems to have all the power and is starting this huge like movement across the entire world to try and overtake it. Why wouldn't you want to try and talk to some of their smartest people? And
so, do you think that they touched down in Germany?
Yes.
It's possible, yeah.
Where at in Germany? And what makes you, like, besides them hanging with that group, like, because I just wonder, like, when do you think it happened and where?
I think that this happened sometime in the late 20s, early 30s in Germany.
That would make sense for the rise of all that.
Correct. They contacted some high up officials. They then spoke to the person with the mustache, and they said, "We have this technology. We have schematics that were given to us from someone. We believe that you can rule this planet, and we have the technology that we can start building now to do it." Because I don't think he was the brain behind everything.
Oh, no. He was not the brain behind everything.
So, do you think that some of the success, and I'm saying success not because they were successful, right. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
The reason why they were able to get to as big as they were and the power that they had was alien?
Yes.
Holy shit. Dude, that's scary.
Yeah.
And it shows you just like the influence that something coming down and doing something like that can have on a civilization. Just look at what it did for that one country, where they went from after World War I, they were in the shitter.
They were in the worst shape of any country on the planet. Actually, like. That was when the Depression was happening. That was not just here in America. That was a global thing. Yeah, that hit Germany hard, especially because after the First World War, they were hit with what was it? All that war bomb paybacks or whatever the term I'm looking for is. In fact, quick fun fact: they didn't even pay that off till the 2000s.
Yeah,
because I think it was like over $8 billion.
Right.
It kind of shows how a struggling country can just come up from after getting hit hard by the rest of the world in a big conflict, how they can just rise like that. Like, how else can you explain it?
But I mean, because they had the people that working within that country that had the minds and capability of creating this technology.
Yes.
Whereas the rest of the world was, I mean, what were we doing at the time? We were going through a depression and not
trying to rebuild ourselves.
Not really doing anything new and innovative.
I just can't believe how accurate Captain America is.
Well, if you think of this too, with the German people as a culture. Even still to this day, they're a very disciplined culture. They're kind of like how the Japanese are. where it's not necessarily to the extent of honor, but it's more of they're very, very disciplined. And, that's the stereotype of German people. But I wouldn't take it as far as how some of the movies do, but they are very disciplined people. So I could understand. I could understand the like how they were able to build all that stuff with the help of the aliens.
Is their symbol alien? Do you think?
No.
No.
Okay.
Wait.
That was
no.
before.
That's actually an ancient Hindu symbol that actually it has a positive meaning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. No.
If you go into I'll just say India, you'll see that symbol, but it's just the inverse, and you'll see it on shop doors. You'll see it but it's just it's a love and peace type of thing.
Yeah.
But
are they aware?
Oh yeah, they are now.
Yeah. Well, it's been part of their religious culture for thousands of years. I don't think that's going away.
Yeah.
Dude, this stuff is blowing my mind. Because first off, that time in history itself is already it's a fascinating time, because it's the power, the struggle, and how I was just watching a documentary on Netflix where this guy they found to be a member of that particular party, and he had to pay for his crimes in Israel.
Mm-hmm.
And ever since that, I was looking into stuff like that. It was just the evil people that ever walked this earth, and now they put aliens involved in it. I mean, dude, you don't even know. I don't even know what to say. My mind is blown because first off, because I like conspiracy stuff, and I don't know. I just believe you. I believe you.
So you got to think of it this way also. So coming out of World War II, your two biggest powers were the United States and Russia. Who were the two countries?
Space war.
Yeah. So who were the two countries that got into Berlin, Germany, first?
Yeah.
The U.S. and Russia.
Yes. And they also are the two countries that got all of the German scientists.
Correct. So how do you think we got technology and the Russians got technology, but everyone seemed to be pretty far behind?
I know NASA was made.
Mm-hmm.
The head of NASA was a member of that particular group.
He was their top dude.
Yeah, I know NASA was made off of that group.
That's even how we got the atomic bombs. It was because of Oppenheimer escaping to America.
Mm-hmm.
So we got space travel
from.
we got escaping. We got space travel from aliens.
Yep.
Wow.
Where else would we get it? I mean,
I don't know. I don't put a whole lot of thought into some of this stuff, but that's why I like having these type of talks. Is that it causes you to ask questions, and I'm genuinely I'm blown away right now. This is awesome.
Well, looks like you got a lot of research to do.
I don't even know, man. I'm terrified.
Dude, I'll send you 3 articles and I'll let you do the rest.
It is a very once you start looking too much into it, and this is something that I did 10 years ago, where I looked into it.
I still look into it.
Pretty hardcore. I looked into it, and this is the theory that I came up with.
It makes sense, dude. I mean, I don't even give a shit about everyone's theory. That makes a ton of sense to me. I mean, time travel, aliens, they choose those douchebags. I mean, this is insane.
Well, you got to look at it from an outside perspective as well. I'm not saying they were correct, but as Andrew said, they were.
No, I mean, I get
the
it.
Most powerful ones.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, I don't choose it. Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, shit, dude.
Well, think about it. Ever since then, when we started having more movies about aliens coming to Earth, every single movie they're coming to the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more or less say India or I don't know, Japan or whatever country name it. They were more powerful than how America is right now. aliens would probably go to India. They probably go to the Congo. Whatever country's in the most power, I guess you could say. Well, makes sense to me.
Well, yeah. So like that's why they, in the past, have visited Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
Probably ancient Mesopotamia, probably the Aztecs, Incas, like all these huge like colonies that were around the world.
Do you
And
think they're evil?
the aliens, the ones
What
that
is their
visit.
intentions?
So I don't know. The only thing that I've ever gotten from anything that aliens have interacted with is that aliens have just given us the blueprint for something.
Yeah.
They never actually just said, here's a ship, or here's a staff that'll zap people, or like they never actually did any of that. I feel like they just either ate it in like building something that we could lift at the time, because again, as many times as they like to say that humans built those pyramids by pure like will of slave power, I had the hardest time believing that they could move some of those rocks, because they were ridiculously heavy.
Yeah.
But also, if they did give us actual technology, then we would have destroyed ourselves by now. But instead, what they do is just give you a blueprint. They say, "Hey, why don't you try building this?"
So, do they have like warp technology?
What was that?
How do they get here so quick? Do they have like warp technology?
I think they have the capabilities of traveling at faster speeds than we do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that they have warping capability. So
there's also theories of wormholes around the world too, like not Area 51. What am I saying? The Bermuda Triangle is apparently like a wormhole. So that's a theory that they're traveling through wormholes to get everywhere.
Well, and one of the cooler theories that I saw, I think it was on Ancient Aliens before, was one where there are like power influx zones on Earth. And it just so happens that all those power influx zones line up with all these powerful civilizations.
Oh yeah, I did see something about that. Okay, that makes sense.
Oh, that's the device, yeah. I can't put that on stream.
Yeah, I just looked at it too.
I sent it to you guys.
Yeah, I just looked at it too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the bell.
It looks like a bell. It does look like a bell.
Yeah.
And that's the exact thing.
That's the replica.
That's that's like a sketch of what they assume that it looked like.
I don't think there's any.
So they never found it.
They never found it.
No.
Or the people that were working.
That could be where Eric is at Area 51.
Yep.
It's possible, yeah.
That's my belief.
That's crazy. So do you think like we have like a hidden society that are like time travelers right now? Like their job is to travel in the future?
I would say that there are a group of people that are assigned roles to travel forward in time to pass information. But it's all top secret. Again, all these government agencies would know where to find these people, where they're supposed to land, and what time they're supposed to land. And they just go there, they receive the people and the information, and then the people that travel through time then either get forced into some sort of labor away from public, or they get killed.
So wait, does that mean that technically we live in a loop?
No.
No,
because time's only ever moved forward. Even for the time travelers, they've only ever moved forward.
I'm here. I'm in the present, but I send you to the future.
Correct.
Can we talk to each other, or am I dead now? By the time you get to where your destination is, I'm dead.
It depends on what time I'm traveling to. So what happens? So, and this is going into the time travel theory, like really hardcore. But so basically, what happens in time travel is you find a ripple in time, because time is a field of is a plane that you can travel on. So what you do is you find a ripple and
It's like
you
bending a piece of paper.
right, and you travel from one point to the other, going the closest route, which is a straight line, as opposed to going up the curve of time.
Yeah.
So you could travel 10 minutes, you can travel 10 years, you could travel 1,000 years. So there could be people that we have already left for the future, and we may not be alive for the time that they come back.
How long do you think it feels like for them?
It's almost instantaneous.
Wow.
I mean, if you want to get technical on this aspect, technically, the people traveling in space are actually are time traveling in a sense. Like that mission to Mars, like those people are going to be time traveling.
Yeah.
Basically.
They're because it's going to take them a long time on Earth years.
Yes.
But to them, it's only going to feel like a shorter amount of time because of the way gravity and time works.
Earth years, it's 5 years.
Right.
I believe so, yes.
But to them, they'll probably only age maybe 2 years. I don't know the exact science. I didn't look into it, but it's... So, you've seen Interstellar, right?
Yes.
No.
So on Interstellar...
I never plan on seeing it.
It's long.
Yeah, it's a fantastic movie. I love it. But so remember when they went down to that one planet with the waves, and they were only down there for like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And then they got back up to the space shuttle, and the dude aged like 20 years.
Yeah.
They essentially time traveled because of the way gravity was working on that planet.
Wow.
So to the guy,
I get you. I get you.
He waited 20 years and aged 20 years. They went down there for 20 minutes and came back up the same age that they went down.
I wonder, like, I guess, like, immortality, like, you want to feel like immortal, like, you can go to a planet like that and come back to Earth and be like, I'm 1,000,000 years old, dude. Like...
Well, it's always the issue of coming back to Earth, because that's the hardest travel.
Yeah. But, like, you say you can't go back in time, but if I go to Mars and come back home, didn't I come back? Or no, that was...
No, because time on Earth went forward.
Yeah.
There is no way that we can conceive to go back yet.
Do you think there will ever be a time where you can go back and change the course of history?
I think so.
I personally don't ever believe there will be a time that we can travel back in time. But just looking at the way that time works and the way that like your physical being works, like if someone was able to go back in time and they figured it out in the future, it would affect us right now. Mm-hmm. Like we would have some sort of effect that someone came back in time.
What is that called? The grandfather paradox, where like if you kill your grandfather before your father's born, you're never born. That type of, then how are you able to time travel?
Right. So it causes too many time paradoxes that like there would just be no coming back from it. Like the world would just basically implode on itself.
Now, I got a different opinion on that. So I think it's possible. It's just we don't have the understanding of the science behind it, of that specific thing yet, as well as the technology. Because I always use the example of, I've said it twice already, but like the car, for example, like hundreds of years ago, no one would be able to comprehend the idea of a car. Even like 30 years ago, the idea of a smartphone. It's not that it's impossible. It's just that we don't understand it yet and don't have the technology for it. I'm not saying it's going to happen in our lifetime. It most likely will not happen in our lifetime. But a couple hundred years from now, they might be able to understand the science behind it and be able to come up with the technology for it. That's just my view on it. I'm not going to dismiss it completely.
That's fine.
Do you think there's alternate realities, like other dimensions?
Oh,
Different,
absolutely.
like different Earths. Like, do you think like we exist on another planet?
Like, so you're talking about parallel universes?
Yeah.
Doesn't that fall into string theory?
Yeah. So I believe there's like a good foundation to support the idea of parallel universes. Yes.
I always wondered. That's why I have deja vu.
And again, that could be as we've discussed last week. Like I experienced deja vu more frequently than I've ever heard from any other person in my lifetime. But like I experience it all the time, and I experience all these weird, like, just, I can only call them paranormal phenomenon at this point, but I experience all these things while I'm sleeping. So like, yes, I think that has something to do with parallel universes, but at the same time, I just don't know yet. I think it's possible.
Yeah. Well, hear me out on this one, because it's going to sound weird. It's going to sound like ridiculous at first, but
Eric, we've just been talking about time travel and the group from the 1940s in Germany. I think I don't think anything's off the table here.
Well, this is where I'm getting at. Take for example, like tripping on drugs, like DMT, to be specific,
right?
Or ayahuasca,
right?
Which I've done DMT before. Ayahuasca, I have not. I want to do that so bad, but
I've heard of it.
But DMT, it's the natural chemical that your brain releases where your third eye is supposed to be while you're dreaming. You're basically tripping balls when you're dreaming. But with you'll understand where I'm getting at. So when you do DMT, it's not like the traditional tripping like what people see in movies where you get sent to another world where you're just walking around la-di-da, everything's made of cotton candy and all that shit. No, it's more or less like you start seeing geometric patterns, but then you start seeing, in some cases, these beings that are almost like from another dimension. You feel like you're in another dimension. Now, you could argue that's just the effects of the natural drug itself. But one belief that I have when it comes to all the hallucinogens, mushrooms, ayahuasca, all that stuff, I feel like it's a tool given to us naturally to be able to open our minds to another dimension, to see what else is there in our reality. Because just because you see it and it's you can't physically touch it, it doesn't mean it's not real. It's not happening. People will use air as the argument for that, or oxygen, but that's just my thing. Like, I feel like we've been given these natural tools to be able to see into these other dimensions almost, or get the ideas of it, without actually having to come up with the technology for it, which I actually hope we do. I'd love to go to a parallel universe, which will never happen. But that's where I'm getting at with the different hallucinogen drugs with that. Like, I feel like they're trying to kind of get us there.
I've heard that, and what I've heard is that people see the same. There's been occasions where people have seen the same beings.
Almost like shadow people.
Yeah, and they're like 100 feet tall. You know what I mean? Like, like I've heard those stories, and that's the thing. It's like people that don't know each other, don't know the stories. They have similar occurrences, similar outcomes, and that's why it's like. But it's like you're going through the veil. You're in another dimension. You know, you're seeing like I want to say it was one of Rogan's podcasts. And
most likely.
I want to say it was Rashad Evans, former UFC champion. He's real big into DMT and stuff like that. And I want to say he said like he was like being held by one of these giant beings. You know what I mean? Like, and it was just like to hear like these people, like the way he's talking about it, and like it's like I don't know, like I believe what they're saying. I don't believe like this is just made up in their head, because why does other people have similar occurrences? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
No, and
Like I've seen those beings. Sorry to cut you off, Andrew.
You're good.
My apology. But like when I did DMT, I did see like these shadow people. Maybe not like 100 feet tall, but they're definitely taller than any person I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but then again, I was also tripping as well. I saw my face basically blown up giant, and I made peace with myself through my mind. So, but
there's
yeah,
also that.
yeah. But I had to throw that I had to throw that out there though, because
well, one of the theories of DMT is that's how they prove that a lot of people believe aliens exist through DMT.
Yes, I've heard that
like
too.
They said that that's one of the theories is when you're on DMT, you are now, like Eric said, you are now using the brain, part of your brain that you can actually talk to aliens.
Mm-hmm.
And there's beings or aliens, and those are the beings that created us.
Yeah, and like that kind of like plays into a lot of different theories that people have about like our conscious and subconscious mind. So our mind is playing a trick on us to believe that everything that we're seeing in front of us is actually there, and but realistically, what these types of drugs do is what they're saying is that it opens up your mind to see everything that your mind blocks from you.
Mm-hmm.
So
well, I think they're very beneficial, and we should still be doing like those type of drugs to this day for that same reason, just for our consciousness. Because if you look at these ancient cultures, every single ancient culture had some hallucinogen drug that they would take. Like in Egypt, they had that specific lotus flower. They had ayahuasca down in the jungles of South America, and they used them for spiritual, obviously spiritual reasons. But they always talked about that kind of stuff too, seeing other beings. It also mixes in with the ancient astronaut theory as well.
Right, and you wonder why these, like all these places that had these things, were able to communicate with the alien beings, and then as I pointed out last week, where in our closing statements is that the pyramids in Egypt and the pyramids of the Mayans, they follow the same constellation of stars and
Yes.
are to scale that a replica of that constellation of stars.
Orion's belt, for people that don't know.
Exactly.
And then take the Sphinx, for example. Certain periods of the year, it faces the constellation of Leo.
Mm-hmm. It's all things that, like, they're all little things, and they're all like little dots on this little puzzle that human beings are playing, and we just haven't even been able to fill in the inside of the puzzle. We barely even got the outside ring of the puzzle done yet.
Yeah. Yeah, this whole topic is just, it's crazy because we can't, what I love about this topic is that, or these topics, they all intertwine with each other. You almost can't talk about aliens without talking about space. You can't talk about space without talking about interdimensional, parallel universes. Can't talk about that specific group from over 50 years ago without bringing up the technology, which brings in the aliens. Everything ties in together.
And then I think you can't really talk about aliens without talking about religion, which then also introduces ghosts and paranormal activity.
Which, let me throw this one in too. It also, psychedelic mushrooms also have like a bit of an origin story with a lot of religions too, like different hallucinogen drugs. Specifically, I believe it's the cordyceps mushroom. I could be wrong with the mushroom, with Christianity. That's a whole other episode. I can go into that another time. Plus, I got to refresh my brain on that.
Well, I definitely don't think we're done with this topic. I think this is going to probably carry on to another episode for sure.
Can I ask one last question here?
Please.
Yes.
Did I open up your guys' minds to not how the group? I almost said the word. how the group could possibly have introduced America and the Russians to alien technology?
You not only opened my mind, I believe you.
this is a lot of stuff that I already knew from years ago. You're kind of just you're kind of like reopening that filing cabinet in my mind.
It all comes back full circle. Yeah.
Exactly.
I gotta watch. I gotta go. It's on Hulu. You said Ancient Aliens.
Netflix.
Netflix. All right, I'm gonna
Listen.
go put that on my list right now so I can watch it tonight.
First 5 seasons.
Yeah, stop at the end of season 5. I would even argue season 6, but stop after that because, like I said, they're just splitting hairs at that point.
I'm gonna put it on my list right now, and I'm gonna watch it tonight.
You better.
It's like I don't even know. I see life different now.
Let me know what you start believing.
I will. Well, I think this is probably gonna do it. I think this is gonna carry on for a little bit now.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Unless you guys have anything else to close with, I think that's kind of the end of the episode.
I got nothing to close with. I think this week.
I will have more to say next week, I think.
As will I.
All right. Well,
I just added it to my list right now, so
There you go.
My man.
All right. Well,
so
next week, I guess.
Till next week.
Till next week.
So this is Andrew, Nick, and Eric signing off for the Never Sold Out podcast. Be sure to check us out on Twitter, on Instagram. It's Never Sold Out PC on both platforms, and then our YouTube channel, which is linked on Twitch here. And so we'll see you guys next week with another riveting episode. Goodbye.
Bye, guys.